Hey everybody, Kara Castronova with Lindell TV here with Senator Johnson talking about a very important issue that a lot of senators and congressmen and, to be honest, politicians have forgotten about, which is the dangers of the COVID vaccine and why the American people still need to pay attention to that. So yesterday you did a hearing and it was called The Plausible Mechanisms of the COVID-19 Injections Causing Cancer and Attacks on Scientific Publications and Research. And that happened yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit more about the hearing, who was there, and why it's so important?
So it's the latest in a series of hearings on not only COVID injection injuries, but just vaccine injuries in general, which have been denied. They've just been dismissed, and trying to lay out why that is happening. But we had some eminently qualified, worldwide qualified oncologists, medical professionals, Angus Dalgleish, Dr. Wafik Eldiri, Asim Malhotra, Dr. Sabine Hazen, and Saskia Mostert. And these are individuals that can speak to the two oncologists were Dalgleish and Eldiri. And they raised the issue of watching in their clinics, but also reviewing the literature, how there's a very plausible mechanism for these injections, the gene therapy. They're not vaccines,
right,
to actually cause cancer, but also a whole host of other adverse events. What was literally shocking to me, and I'm hard to shock nowadays, is the Democrat witness. Again, eminently qualified, very respected oncologist, head of I think the American Society of Oncology Clinicians. She did not know the makeup and really the mechanism of the COVID injections. And here she is testifying before the United States Senate, saying, well, there's no proof that these injections cause cancer. Well, first of all, you don't even know what they're comprised of. She thought it was real mRNA, which degrades very rapidly in the body. She I guess apparently assumed that it's going to stay in the arm. No, we know it biodistributed all over the body. The mRNA is modified with cyrouridine that does not allow it to degrade. We've got studies that show it's present in the body up to 700 days. And that's where they ended the study. It's just probably hanging around more. But again, they just declare, because they're the experts, there is no proof. Well, you're never going to have proof if you're not looking for it, or if when you see proof, you deny that it's proof. So we had all kinds of evidence. Again, clinical observations by somebody who's been practicing oncology for decades, Dr. Dalgleish. Then Dr. Eldiri, who's looked at this literature, 300 different cases, and analyzed these cases of cancer at the site of injection, in the neck and head, okay? And then lays out, here's how it can happen. Because the mRNA injection, the mRNA is encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle, which is designed to permeate, difficult to permeate barriers like the brain, like the placenta barrier. They knew it wouldn't stay in the arm, yet they lied to us. The lipid nanoparticle then allows the payload to enter the cell, together with all the DNA contamination that other researchers have found, way above FDA limits. FDA is not policing that. So you inject this mRNA, you turn an individual cell into a manufacturing site for the spike protein, which is toxic to the body. You don't have to be a doctor or medical researcher to understand how dangerous that is. So it biodistributes all the body, turns all these different kinds of cells into manufacturing sites for something toxic to the body. You know what the body's immune system does when they find something toxic? It attacks it. That's called inflammation.
Right.
Myocarditis is inflammation of the heart. All these neurological issues are inflammation of the nervous system. So again, to a non-doctor, non-medical researcher, this is obvious to me. And yet, I would say it's obvious to the people who take a look at it, the people who approved it. And let me continue the filibuster here, okay? So this is a series of hearings. Our previous hearing was talking about the report we issued, where through our investigation, because Bobby Kennedy was committed to radical transparency, we had 11 million pages. In those 11 million pages, we found that Peter Marks, the head of CBER, the division of the FDA that approves vaccines or these gene therapies, okay? He approved the emergency use authorization. He was warned on March 1st, less than 3 months after that approval, that the algorithm they were using to analyze VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, was going to hide and mask safety signals. So he was warned. 26 days later, using a up-to-date algorithm that unmasked those. Dr. Anna Scharfsman, one of the data mining experts, showed them the data. The current system was going to mask, or was masking, not 49 extreme cases of masking. The new system showed 25 safety signals on very severe adverse events like sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, Bell's palsy, different types of strokes. For 3 consecutive months, Dr. Scharfsman kept running data showing more and more safety signals, other types of sudden death. They didn't put a medal on our badge and say, thank you, you've saved lives.
Right.
They said, go away. We didn't ask you to do this. Cease and desist. You're a pest. And what they did is they clung to their algorithm that they knew was hiding signals. And so let me just, this is supposition, but this is what had to be going through their minds, right? Put yourself in the position of Peter Marks. So you approve this injection. You call the vaccine knowing it's gene therapy. So you already know you're lying. But you approve it, and you're probably crossing your fingers hoping that all goes well.
Right.
Well, it didn't go well. Reports were flooding. They had a deluge of adverse event reports in the VAERS system. So many they had hired, the contractor had to hire 290 additional people to input them into the system. So they got to be freaking out, right? I mean, I approve this. It's killing people. It's permanently disabling people. How do I cover this up? And then all of a sudden, it's like a machine of the gods. I mean, on March 1st, you get told by your data mining experts, like, fear not, because our algorithm is going to hide these safety signals. Right. So keep using that algorithm. You can go to the American public and lie bald-faced and say, we're just not seeing safety signals. And that's what they did. That's what they're still doing.
Right.
And the reason I call this the biggest government scandal of my lifetime is past March 1st. Certainly past March 27th, when, 26th, when they got the actual data, they actually saw the safety signals.
Right.
Anybody who voluntarily chose to get that vaccine and was injured, or had their child vaccinated and died. Remember this, a subset of this scandal is the 96 child deaths that the FDA looked at, then buried the results.
Right.
Okay, got a second opinion on the autopsies that said it was caused by the injection, sent it over to CDC, come up with a different conclusion here. That we're finding, again, we're in the midst of that investigation, of that covered up as well. So there's cover-ups after cover-ups. How about the cover-up within NIH, who was treating the injection injured? In March of 2021, they were acknowledging injection injuries with people like Bree Dressen. They were treating them somewhat successfully, but they told those injection injuries they were treating, don't say anything. We don't want to jump the gun. We don't want to go out with advice that's incorrect. So let us complete our study treating you. Then we will issue a study. Then we'll acknowledge these injuries, and then doctors around the world can know what they're dealing with, so they can successfully treat people. By the way, within those studies, the first thing they found out, early treatment is incredibly important.
Right.
If you treat it early, you can actually stop the progression. You can, bring healing to these people a lot quicker.
Right.
They didn't publish a study until like.
You mean the vaccine injured? Yeah.
They didn't publish a study on that until only under extreme pressure from the vaccine injured, but they never publicized it. They just quietly put it on a preprint server and said they did their job.
What's the treatment for vaccine injured?
There's a number of them. I'm not a doctor.
But unfortunately, you're saying that they didn't let people know about this.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of these are pretty expensive treatments.
Right.
So
what would your message be? I guess, even nowadays, I still, just yesterday I called CVS Pharmacy and they're still pushing COVID-19 shots.
Do not get an mRNA-based injection. Do not do it. They can't
Which
control
is all COVID-19 shots right now.
No, there's some different ones. But again, how serious is COVID nowadays? I mean, do we have to be vaccinated against everything? Our immune system is a marvel.
Right.
Every time you inject something, you're impacting the immune system. Don't assume that, like on childhood vaccines, don't assume that they only positively impact your immune system. One of the reasons people are concerned about chronic illness and vaccines is because a lot of these chronic illnesses are autoimmune related,
right? Immune
dysregulation. But again, the vaccine amen crowd that take a look at vaccines as just have religious faith in them. They have the hubris to think, oh no, what we're designing only positively impacts the immune system, completely ignoring and quite honestly destroying anybody's career who says, well, maybe, just maybe, you're impacting the immune system negatively. I really recommend for all your listeners, there's a number of great books, Vaccines All the Way Down, or Dissolving Illusions, Turtles All the Way Down, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, Reality. But the seminal work here is Aaron Siri, not a doctor, a lawyer.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, Vaccines on Men. It's a pretty short little read. If you're concerned about vaccines or you have any questions about this, read that book. Your eyes would be opened.
Why do senators and Congress people continue to sort of die on a hill for these vaccines? They continue to push them. Everybody gets so offended if you, mention any adverse reactions.
Well, first of all, understand the appeal of vaccines. I do. Well, just get a shot. It's safe and effective. Right. And then you don't have to worry about this deadly disease. I mean, so I understand the appeal. It's just that the reality doesn't live up to the hype. And because they hype it, because, again, they cut videos, get that jab in this pandemic. Just like doctors, just like the federal health officials, just like the media, if you push this on people, you don't want to admit something you recommended, killed them or killed their child.
Right.
Think of that. I mean, think of you being a parent and, because you're so freaked out because of the way they scaremonger on COVID, right? In the end, COVID was like a bad flu season. I mean, it wasn't like Ebola, okay? Right. But they just freaked the population out to get them to run to get that jab based on the assurances, the lies of the federal health officials. But anyway, anybody who used that fear, got people to take that injection, they don't want to admit it. Right. Again, think of a parent that based on that fear, knowing their child, because they were talking about this, they had virtually a 0% chance of having any kind of serious long-term impact of getting COVID, got that injection, and your child never woke up. That happened. There were children that did not wake up after taking that injection.
Will there ever be accountability?
They should have been warned.
Do you think
only once this becomes picked up? But I held that hearing, I think April 29th. Only Major Garrett at CBS has interviewed me on this. We've been pounding
the mainstream media.
We've been pounding the mainstream media. CNN. I was on Jake Tapper, and you want to talk about something else? But Jake, you really ought to have me on to talk about my report. I'm texting it to you now. Okay. Right. He hasn't called us back. Again, my comments people are pretty aggressive. We're trying to get this story out
there. It's important.
They won't have me on because they're complicit.
So will you continue to do these hearings? When is the next one? And hopefully you're literally the only one who is continuing to push hearings on this vaccine.
Well, I just met with the vaccine injured in the past where I've had them in hearings or events. I've allowed them to tell their stories to get the public to acknowledge, no, these are real people. These people are suffering. They need to be seen, heard, and believed so they can get treatment.
Right.
I think my next hearing with the vaccine injured will be talking about what they saw in terms of corruption within the NIH. I mean, how they were lured into stay silent, so we can, and then the things never published. And when it finally was, it wasn't publicized so that anybody found out about it.
Right.
So I need to show the American public how utterly corrupt this process is. And because people don't want to believe it.
Right.
They don't want to believe that something they lined up there, they believe these, these people in the federal health agencies, now they might have a ticking time bomb. They don't want to hear, they just want to move on.
Right.
So I understand that, but we can't move on. We can't ever let this happen again. They're gearing it right up again for either hantavirus or Ebola.
This is the last question. I just want you to just make your last point as to why it's so important we keep this alive. Could this happen again where they force inject the population with something nefarious?
They're setting us up for it. Hantavirus, Ebola. I mean, Ebola is something that's just so aggressive, it generally snuffs itself out.
Right.
If you just had a basic procedures, quarantines, that kind of stuff. I mean, you can snuff out a Ebola deal. Now, we ought to be a little careful here with FIFA bringing all these people from. We ought to be pretty careful when we do that, right? Not sure we're going to be. But again, they're setting us up for, and they're already talking about vaccines they developed for the hantavirus, that kind of stuff. Where's the talk about treatment? Let's put a lot of time and effort into treating childhood infectious disease. Let's talk about, because that's
right. But
that's why they sabotage things like ivermectin. Why hospitals wouldn't administer it wasn't profitable. Remdesivir was highly profitable to them. But if there would have been effective treatment for COVID, they never would have got emergency use authorization.
Well, thank you so much for continuing to keep this alive. It's so important. So keep doing the great work that you're doing, Senator Johnson.
Well, thanks for covering it because a lot of people aren't.
Thank you.
Thank you.